Hey there, Clear Lake peeps. Ross England here with Clear Lake Guide Service with your report on conditions, activities, and fishing for Clear Lake for June 24th, 2021. Sorry to be coming to you from the garage today. Really don't like doing it, but to be perfectly honest with you, as I was coming in and getting ready to shoot my video this afternoon, the wind was blowing out of the east and howling, and I thought, this is not going to cut it. So here we are. Okay, so what's going on? Let's talk about the activities for this coming weekend. Saturday, we have Lake County High School fishing tournament. I honestly don't know what that means. I just know permit has been pulled, and that's what it's called. So I don't know if Lake County is hosting a high school team fishing tournament or a high school tournament, but I know Saturday there's a permit pulled for under the name of Lake County High School. So that's going on Saturday. Sunday is a New Gen team event. I don't know where it's going out of. The last that I had heard is they were going to be going out of Konocti Harbor, but we also just heard this past week that Konocti Harbor's launch ramp has been closed because even though the ramp extends out over deep water, it's short. So at least that's the word that I've heard. So they're going to be having to go out of either Redbud or Lakeport, don't know which one. So those are the activities that you have going on this coming weekend. Let's talk about lake level a little bit since we were talking about launch ramps. Still, the launch ramps that are available are Clear Lake Oaks, Redbud, and Lakeport, 5th Street, 3rd Street launch ramps. All three of those are still operational. I believe Brado's is still operational as well. Somebody told me that it's a little interesting to launch there, but it is still usable. So those are your primary launch ramps. The county park is still open. I don't know for how much longer. The state park launch ramp is closed. And Konocti Vista, there's still people using it. So I don't know how, because it's so shallow getting out of there. I'm sure the ramp is probably still okay, but just getting out of the marina area into the lake, that's a pretty shallow run. So lake level currently stands at -1 Rumsey, -0.1. So we've gotten into minus territory at this point, and it'll continue to drop probably the way things look all the way through probably into November, until significant rainfall comes. So right now there's usable ramps. While I'm on the subject, was over talking to John Mays at CNC Marine, and there's been a number of people come in with bumped lower units. So the areas, there are rocks out there. Be careful, especially I think if you're in the Rattlesnake Arm, or if you're in some of the areas down around Monitor Point, in the Redbud Arm, down in that area. There's not a whole lot to hit up on Lakeport, at least as other than in the Rocky Point area. So we're at -0.1 Rumsey for Clear Lake and dropping. Water conditions, man, it's all over the board. I have fished since last Thursday, and the best advice I can give you is, if you don't like the watercolor that you're in, move around, because the wind has blown. Today's a really good example. The wind blew out of the south this morning. Not bad, but it just blew. Any kind of wind is going to blow this stuff around. and by noon it was white capping through the Narrows, headed towards Lakeport, blowing out of the east. So, you know, what that does is you've got a combination of grasses that are being torn up out there and blown around. You've got algae mats that are out towards the center of the lake. You've got several different colors of algae and types of it that are out there. You've got weed beds, and for the most part, all of it, with the exception of the weed beds, move around depending on how the wind blows. So you may be in a spot today that looks pretty clear, and we did see a couple of places over the last couple of days where, you know, we could see probably 3.5, 4 feet. But for the most part, you know, what we were faced with today was a lot of that, I call it egg drop soup algae, because it just is kind of feathery and floats on the surface. It was blowing all over the place. It was in the rattlesnake arm, it was in the redbud arm. Then you have some of the classical just flat green blanket algae that was down around Rattlesnake Island, down in that area. You got some brown algae floating up around lake, in the center of the lake, on the upper lake, that's just kind of floating all over the place. So I'm not really seeing a ton of really good matting, which is kind of weird, because with the water dropping, you'd think you'd have some pretty good topped out thick mats. It just, at least where I've been, I have not been seeing it. So there's plenty of grass around, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of it. And they did do some spraying over the last week and a half. Most of it was to create what will become open boat lanes. Good example, you saw it in Lakeport out of 5th Street. They're trying to make an area out there so the boats can come in and go out of the launch ramp in a pretty much weed-free area. Also, they've done it in some of the homeowner areas where they've done the same thing, where, you know, you got a bunch of homes along the lake in a little bay, as an example. Well, they've gone in and they've sprayed to create a channel, and that's where you see these red and green buoy markers out in some of these areas, is where they have supposedly gone through and sprayed to create an open lane so people can get back to their homes. Which is kind of funny, because in Lakeport, I don't think there's enough water for anybody that's got a boat on a lift to be able to actually lower the lift and get their boat to float off, but at least they'll be able to get in and out. So, okay, so that's water temperature. Water temperature, you know, pretty wide range. We'll say from 75 to 80, depending on where you are. Consistently, what I was fishing in for the most part this past week was 75 in the morning up to about 77. A couple places maybe 78. So that's kind of the temperature range. Okay, I kind of jumped around a lot, but okay, that's activities, conditions. Yep, that's it. Fishing. We pretty much averaged about between 20 and 25 fish a day for the last 5 days of fishing. We did have one 5-pounder, which we haven't had in a while, and we had a couple of 4-pounders. The 5 should have been a 6, the 4 should have been a 5, and some of the 3 to 3.25 pound fish that we caught probably should have been 4s. So caught them on a wide variety of baits and different locations. We fished the upper end of the lake, fished the rattlesnake arm, fished the redbud arm, caught fish anywhere from topwater, which was better the end of last week. Much better than it's been the last couple of days for me anyway. So we had topwater, which was mainly poppers, whopper plopper. Caught one decent fish on a whopper plopper today. And then Texas rig weightless 5s, drop shot, Ned rig, little Kitech on a little jig head. I think that pretty much covers it. And we caught fish that were anywhere from the surface out to as deep as about 23 feet, although I'll say the majority of the fish we caught were probably 10 to 16. And honestly, most of my fish were they weren't in one particular area. It was kind of a couple here, a couple there, some places. You know, we caught some dock fish. You know, we'd hit one dock and catch 2 fish off of one dock, hit 3 other docks and not hit one, and then hit a fish on another dock. We caught fish on rocks, caught fish on in front of, you know, runs of tules. So it's just kind of a little mix of everything. I mean, we concentrated on fishing the shade first thing in the morning, and then once the shade was gone, we just moved off and started fishing other stuff and just tried to kind of mix it up. A little bit of it was trying to avoid the wind. A little bit of it was trying to stay in the shade as long as we could. So probably our best bag was 21 pounds, and the rest of them were in the 17 to 18 and a half pound range. Very few little, you know, ratfish. Most of them were just, you know, good solid 2.5 pounders, 2.5 to 3 pounds. You know, the fishing pressure, I'm going to say, was pretty light, but the few guys that I did stop and talk to, everybody seems to be catching fish. It's just not everybody's catching a lot of them. So it just depends on, you know, what they're fishing and how they're fishing, where they're fishing, and when they're fishing. I think if you got out, you know, if you're a local and you can fish here during the evening, if you could get out and fish during the last couple of hours in the evening, it'd probably be a pretty good bite. Probably a little bit better bite than it is the first couple hours in the morning. Normally this time of year, you know, that first couple hours can be pretty good, but it just, at least for me, it hasn't been. So I will say that we are catching fish pretty much regularly during the course of the day. Found one spot, actually 2 spots during the course of this past week that held a pretty good concentration of fish, but they moved. You know, it's just Clear Lake being Clear Lake. They were there one day and then they were gone the next. So, one of the days last week, I don't remember which, we caught quite a few bass off of one particular area, and we also caught 5 catfish that were between 10 and 15 and a half pounds. Those all came on a drop shot, so, you know, at least that's a good fight and a good time. So, you know what? I think that's about it. I've run out of things to tell you at this point. So, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them to me. As you know, I always answer them, and I love getting the reports from y'all when you know, have a little bit of information you can send out there that helps the group, especially with consideration to water level and things that might be in the water that you might hit and whatnot. So be careful out there, pay attention, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.